Captain Flowers, and welcome to World's Cooldown. IG was 2 hits on a Nexus away from a 3-0. Almost got reverse sweeped. This time around, they say not gonna happen. They get the 3-0 over G2. Definitely cement themselves as a worthy finals team.
And that's exactly why we both predicted IG 3-0.
Yep.
Excellent work, Deficio.
Killed a pre-game bot, by the way. Don't
Right.
let anyone go back and
There's a
watch
problem
that.
uploading it to YouTube.
Yeah, I think it's
so
lagging
weird
there.
that this pre-show of all pre-shows. But let's talk about this final game, because this was the toughest victory for IG in this 3-game series here. G2 actually had control over the game for a substantial period of time. They made some decent adjustments in draft. It just wasn't quite enough.
It was also some wonky drafting from IG. They looked like they had a clear shot that like Braum Lucian, like, nah, give me the Kai'Sa. Looked like they could have gone for a comfort pick for Ning again. They're like, nah, give me the Lee Sin. I'm like white fisting the desk, like, oh no, we're going to game 4.
I mean, it looked like it for a moment at least. But that's what happens in a best of 5 when you've secured 2 wins already as IG based on simply having the best solo lane setup possible for your team to win with the Shy and Rookie as well. So when you go into game 3, even if this had snowballed out of control, like you could have readjusted for the next game. So
Absolutely.
it felt like they were in control except for the 20 minutes here, and obviously they started with Ning. Not really sure what he tried to do on Lee Sin.
And props to G2. I think this is kind of the G2 that we wanted to see enter this best of 5, and it took, unfortunately, too long for them to finally show up in game 3. If they had played the first 2 games like this, I would have been great with the series. Yeah, still congratulations to G2 because no one expected them to be here, but I think they could have had a lot more fight than what we got out of this 3-0.
Still, though, I have to say, I thought the solo lane matchups would be a little bit more even going into the series.
Right.
A bit like we saw in the last game. But watching game 1, the Jace from Rookie, and then game 2, the Jace from the Shy, it's where you get that reality check of just how good these 2 players can be when they get to play, a comfortable champion, a good matchup, and they get that early lead. Because we see so many other players when they get 1 or 2 kills, sure, they might get 1/3, but then they kind of slow down a bit. The Shy was like 1v2ing people in their own base. Like, that's the kind of stuff you want to see when a world-class player gets ahead.
And unfortunately for G2, there was never going to be a scenario where they were able to beat Invictus Gaming in the same way that they did RNG. Let Me and Xiaohu are completely different animals comparatively to Rookie and the Shy. They're just not on the same level right now. And I think that was unfortunately like the big wake-up call for G2, where stylistically, they really hadn't been tested in that 1-3-1 or in those solo lanes. And it was going to be matchup dependent, and maybe fumbled a couple matchups here and there with a couple of the drafts, and then really had that wake-up call of, okay, this isn't Let Me, this is a completely different top laner.
Yeah, because when we did the win conditions going into the series, one of the big ones was Jankos and Wadid kind of outperforming Ning and Baolan. So the supporting crew around these carries needed to win on the side of G2 for them to actually take down IG. And during the games, it became very clear that that was not going to happen. I think Wadid had like a good time Kench game for sure, but we didn't get to see 3 games in a row of Jankos just like beating on Ning. And that's obviously also too much to ask from him to do this, but it was one of the needed things for G2 to then stop the snowball from the 2 solo laners. When that didn't happen and Ning with the Jarvan was good in the first game, and second game he did fine as well, it suddenly went super IG favorite.
Yeah, the pieces weren't there for G2 today. We did get a look at G2's favorable early game there in this 3rd game. I do want to take a look at one other moment. Exactly, great start for G2, but where it kind of began to turn. In the mid game here, G2 perhaps a little too aggressive, and it gets turned around.
I mean, they have to take these fights at this point. You're looking for those power spikes. It felt good for G2. It just kind of came down to execution, maybe some mismanaged target identification, and kind of the call afterwards. You have a very clear win here that you just need to keep track of the LeBlanc and then choose, do we continue to push this out, or do we take, some of these kills and maybe reset the map, and G2 decided to push the luck?
Yeah, because after this, when G2 stay, they obviously get flanked. Jankos, poor guy, tries to get away, and Aatrox flies in.
Hey guys, he's behind us.
This was fight number 1. Shy got to join. There was then fight number 2 as well around the dragon, where he made like the biggest 1v5 kind of play. We were all screaming, just back, what are you doing? But
and then they 4-man run into the 3rd queue.
They're like, oh, we should just kill this guy. He's all alone. And then they end up then jumping into that massive queue, right? The whole fight is set up for IG. And again, that's where you see the differences in this game than between some of the individual players and how hard you can carry.
And he's doing that from behind in this game. He wasn't
Yes, he was
set up
0-2.
like he was in the first two games. Through today's series, Invictus Gaming performed, but there were a couple of notable performances in that 3-0 that earned players the honor of MasterCard Player of the Game. For Invictus Gaming, it was Rookie, and then the Shy twice.
Surprise, surprise, it's the solo laners for Invictus Gaming. I'm really happy that the Shy finally got his big moment on the stage. I think Papa Smithy said it best on cast. He finally now proved to the international audience just what a big star he is and cemented that on the World's Hall of Fame, if you will, as he walks towards finals.
They got one more best of 5 to go, but those are the kinds of performances you want to see out of your solo laners before you move on to that final stage. To hear more from the victorious pros who played on stage, let's send it over to Shock for an interview with the Invictus Gaming top laner.
Thank you very much, guys. I'm here with the Shy after 3-0ing their way to the final. The Shy, in your very first World Championship, what does it mean to you to make it to the final?
네, 결승전에 진출하셨습니다. 상대방 승리였는데 첫 월드컵에서 결승전까지 가게 된 소감이 어떤가요?
네, 3대0으로 좀 약간 쉽게 이기게 됐는데 저희 팀이 정말 잘해주었고 네, 그래서 지금 체감은 안 되지만 되게 네, 기분 좋은 것 같아요.
So it was an easy 3-0 victory, but this is so surreal for me. All the other players were doing so perfectly for this victory, so I'm really happy.
A relatively easy victory. I have to say, you definitely carried a lot of those games. What allowed you to step up so heavily for your team today?
그럼 오늘은 정말 엄청나게 혼자서 캐리하는 그런 모습이 나왔는데 어떻게 한 단계 더 나아진 모습이 나올 수 있었을까요?
자, 뱀픽의 차이인 것 같고요. 이번에 저희 코치진과 선수진에서 탑에 몰아주는 뱀픽을 하자고 했고 그거에 대한 결과로 지금 이렇게 보여준 것 같아요.
So I think it is all about our draft. We used to play around the bot lane, but this time we came with the draft with playing around the top lane. Our coaching staff kind of planned it. I think it went as we planned before.
Well, draft is, of course, important, but I think you're maybe underplaying how strong you were today. Is there anyone left in the tournament in the top lane that could beat you?
근데 뱀픽뿐만 아니라 정말 플레이가 정말 화려하셨습니다. 그럼 이제 남은 탑 라이너 중에 좀 만나고 싶거나 좀 경계가 된 상대가 있을까요?
딱히 없는 것 같아요.
No.
No?
No.
Well, we'll see that. It looks like you guys have a fantastic road laid out for you. Are you starting to dream of lifting that Summoner's Cup with IG for the LPL? Or is it dangerous to start dreaming so early?
그러면 이제 그 롤드컵 우승컵을 들어올리는 상상을 좀 하고 계신지 아직은 그런 걸 하기엔 좀 이른 것 같으신지 궁금하네요.
그런 행복한 상상들을 하곤 하는데 그래도 결승이 남았으니까 제일 중요한 경기다 보니까 좀 마음을 추스리고 내 경기에 임해야 될 것 같아요.
So I sometimes dream about those happy imaginations, but you know, final is the most important thing for us. So we have to kind of chill down and prepare for the finals.
Okay, calming down, but no one else is going to beat him who's left in this tournament. Thank you very much. The Shy and IG make it to the final.
No top laner better than him in the tournament, or so he seems to think. I mean, doing what he did to Wonder in this series, a lot of people are pointing to Wonder as maybe the guy who could match him, who could, unseat him. It's not going to happen. He's going to look towards either Bwipo, Soaz, or Licorice in that final series.
The Shy's only had the better of him a couple of times in the LPL. JDG's top laner Zoom comes to mind. So it's, getting a solo kill on the Shy in his domestic league is an accolade that someone would equate to if they managed to solo kill Faker or something like
now
that.
Just imagine getting a win over him in the finals. Now, to wrap up this series, though, I do want to talk about G2 as they exit today. Top 4 finish here at Worlds. We've been talking about it all tournament long. This team, from start to finish of 2018, their, trials and tribulations and ultimately prevailing, to come as the third seed over those obstacles, and then to crush the doubters along the way, through the play-ins, through the groups, and then here to the semifinals.
I just think it's crazy that 2 months ago, I think these 5 players were looking at each other after losing to Misfits in playoffs and being like, what's next? Like,
That's it, yeah.
This is a mess, nothing is working, we didn't win in spring, we're not winning in summer, and we play for G2 Esports, the organizations that will always make the final, always challenge for the title in
They had
Europe.
their Madrid jerseys ready to go.
The Madrid jerseys were ready and they didn't make the finals in Madrid, but now 2 months later, they look at this top 4 finish, beating RNG. It wasn't an easy road to top 4 by any means. They had to go all 5 games. Obviously, they were completely outmatched in this series, but that doesn't take away from them shutting down RNG and getting out of the Group A as well.
Without a doubt. With their victory, though, Invictus Gaming become the first LPL team to make a World Championship final since 2014, and they'll face the winner of Cloud9 versus Fnatic playing tomorrow. IG as finalists. Let's talk about this squad because, again, the 3-2 victory over KT that was nearly a 3-0. They follow it with a dominant 3-0 over G2. And now they're staring across the bracket at Fnatic and Cloud9. Should these guys be scared at all?
Cloud9 and Fnatic?
No, IG. Like,
Oh.
Based on what they've done, they've already taken out the tournament, one of the tournament favorites.
Sure.
They've taken out the team that took out the other tournament favorite, and they did it in a 3-0. And now they're looking across at, granted, Fnatic, who topped the group. And I think that's maybe the one big talking point here, is there's the other Group D team there, the first seed, still alive.
And that's the thing, you know, unless Cloud9, if you want to call it spoilers, since a lot of people are starting to lean towards Fnatic as kind of the other big favorite, you basically have this rise now as these two teams on opposite side of the bracket. We thought it was going to be KT and RNG, but from the very beginning, from Group D, who's going to take first spot, it's now become about Fnatic and Invictus Gaming. And I think everyone is just waiting to see that best of 5, or at least the chance of it. And Cloud9 can come in, no, you can't look past us, you must focus on us first.
Yeah, I think you have a lot of confidence as IG, but again, as you highlighted, the Fnatic team that took you down first in the last game of the groups and then the tiebreaker as well, like you're going to look at them and you're not going to be scared, but you're obviously going to have a lot of respect for this team if you end up playing them in the final and not going with the mindset that this is going to be an easy game. I think C9 is the other one where I think every team still will look at C9 and underrate them and be like, oh, yeah, they're obviously not going to beat Fnatic, you know, and the same thing with the Afrika series. The thing is, if they do beat Fnatic and walk into this final, like they've shown that they can play aggressive enough to match early game, but it's obviously going to be a struggle just 1v1-wise in the two solo lanes.
That's the most important thing, is this idea of aggressive gameplay. Because a lot of people will say, if it is Fnatic IG, that they'll weight it towards Fnatic. Fnatic had the best of 3, if you will, against IG. They won.
Yeah, I'm not sold on that one either.
But it was a completely different game. You know, that was back when Invictus Gaming were playing the Sion, were playing the Kai'Sa. Now you see them playing a C9 style where it is that Lucian in the bottom lane. It's playing the early game. So Fnatic will get a good gut punch against Cloud9 if they want to if you want to face this version of Invictus Gaming, you must beat Cloud9.
Right. It's interesting to me, though. I know we are jumping ahead to a supposed C9 Invictus Gaming finals, but it's interesting to me the fact that C9, we look at a lot of their success coming off of, let's say, Licorice in the top lane and Jensen's performance in the mid lane. Well, we said the same thing about G2. Granted, C9 is not necessarily playing the 1-3-1 from there.
And we got the bot lane in quarterfinals.
That's true. They stepped up.
They started suddenly doing the Lucian Braum, which gave another way for C9 to play the early game when solo laners would not always win.
Right.
So they did show a little bit more flexibility in terms of how many lanes they could play around. But again, you go into this matchup against IG, no matter who you are, and you think to yourself, we can match solo laners on paper, until you actually sit there on the Rift and you're facing a Jace who's up 50 CS and a Ghostblade and you're just dying. Like, that is the problem.
And I was checking Licorice's solo queue. You know, he's got the blind Victor Iceborne Gauntlet ready to go. So if, again, this meta becomes about, like, the Aatrox and if you have to ban the Victor, like, Bwipo's already pulled it out. Licorice in solo queue shows that he's ready for it.
And the Hecarim.
And the Hecarim. Yeah, I mean, Cloud9, right? We talked about the Jace as a pocket pick and how much room it gave IG to breathe within this pick ban, how much flexibility and control it gave them. Cloud9 is another interesting team with the number of pocket picks that they have and how that might allot them some control within this game. Perkz was the better performing European mid laner of the two between him and Caps for a large majority of this tournament, but we did just see him fall to Rookie. How do you feel about Caps' chance in that mid lane matchup?
Against Rookie specifically?
Yeah, against Rookie specifically.
I mean, he went down like 30 CS.
Yeah, laning phase, Rookie is definitely better. Caps' biggest problem this tournament has been not adapting to the increased skill level of mid laners and teams he's facing in the early game, because he plays as aggressive in Europe as he's doing now. But in Europe, when he goes in for these really over-aggressive plays, it doesn't always get punished.
Right.
And typically, he has Brox and Hylissang standing right behind him as well. But during this tournament, he's tried to play the same style, and he's gotten punished more often. I'd like to believe these 5 days of scrimming and practicing and VOD reviewing has maybe made him think a little bit more before he jumps in. But I think he's going to drop in CS to Rookie. but he's shown he's a great late game team fighter, and that's how he got back in the games when they played against IG.
Yeah,
Well, go ahead.
I was just going to say the fact of the matter is that Caps wasn't able to lose as gracefully as he really needed to, but it was Broxa in the bot lane that stepped up for Fnatic. Now as the meta has kind of shifted away from that big 5v5, again, I don't think you can take the same things that you learned from the first time Fnatic and IG played and apply them to the second phase, because they're playing different games at this point.
It's a whole new world here, whole new worlds in the knockout stage. But if you want to face the Shy and Rookie, if you want to have that shot at taking them down along with the rest of Invictus Gaming, you got to win the matchup tomorrow. Tomorrow, we have the EU versus NA semifinal in Cloud9 versus Fnatic. World's Countdown starts at 12:30 a.m. PST, 9:30 CEST, Central European Summertime. I was told by some Europeans that they don't ever use that abbreviation, CEST. I guess that's the thing here. Preview of that matchup tomorrow. We talked a lot about, hypothetical finals. What about this EU versus NA clash?
I mean, this is the rivalry. It felt like everyone was holding hands. It's like you guys took down the LCK and the LPL, and now it's like who's going to put up hands first. And ultimately, I mean, we've been saying, it's Fnatic versus IG. That's been all the theorizing. But Cloud9, they look perfect for this meta. They pulled out the Lucian. Yeah, Uzi was the first guy to do it, but Sneaky was really the first guy that was successful with it. Sneaky had probably one of the best quarterfinals I've ever seen. And then Jensen also popping off, having these clutch moments. So across the board, if we talk about the evolution of the meta and the play style, C9 are right there in that pocket on a meta standpoint and an individual performance standpoint. Everyone is playing their top game.
I think on paper for a Western fan, it's kind of the dream semifinal, because it's the two most successful organizations internationally as well in C9 and Fnatic. And you get a Fnatic team where we've kind of hyped them from the start, and it's the only one that didn't hit us back in the face, because they actually did beat EDG.
We got one.
We got the one. That's the one that counts in the end.
The only one we've got.
But the fact that without even playing perfect League of Legends in the quarterfinal, they're still able to 3-1 EDG. That says a lot about the overall level they can reach. And I think for Fnatic going into tomorrow's game, they are favorites for me, at least. I think across the board, they will be able to either match or beat what C9 is bringing. I'm just concerned about the draft, because Fnatic do gamble a little bit. They get a little bit greedy sometimes. And C9 has shown to me that they know what to pick to actually succeed as a team. Like, they heavily invest into strong engaged comms because they know they can keep forcing fights. They knew that Afrika bot lane was weak in lane, so they go with Lucian Braum and they punish it. Like, I like those things a lot from C9, and I think that's where they can really target Fnatic.
A small preview of the much-awaited matchup that we are to see tomorrow. That's going to do it for us here, though, tonight. So now for myself, the casters, the entire live broadcast crew, thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow for the last semifinal bout.
The time is finally upon us, the semifinals of World Championship 2018, and it should be a battle. And now Yarna's gonna be in some trouble, gets himself dunked in the back line, goes Ning, goes into the stasis right now. Jackie Love grabs the first kill. Can't find the end right now, but what about now? Oh, Ning doesn't need the end when he can find Wonder like that, and that's gonna be Jackie set up to find himself another attractive kill onto within here too. Wonder trying to stand and make some sort of a defense, but everyone else is already gone. A double kill over to Ning.
This is a team that has a lot of mental fortitude. We'll see if they can actually display that here.
Turns going in on the Rookie here, but Talia is there. The seismic shot makes it happen in first blood. IG! Rookie lives. Keeping one alive. The Shy trying to disengage now, but instead around. This man is a monster, and Perks will be beaten down. That's one auto attack. He's 17. That's 2 hits. Man, 2 hits. Now the Vanguard's edge has been deployed. Wonder coming in for the counterattack, and he cleans up Rookie as the Hextech ultimatum seals Jackie Love's fate, and G2 wins another fight. They already got the pick onto the enemy jungler. Go, man!